Welcome to Hearing 2025, the playlist. 30 poems by 7 citizen poets, 3 poetry ambassadors, and 1 poet laureate. That's the sound of icicles dripping and melting.
Cabil. A poet is not a country. I think about what a strange thing is to be a poet. I think about what a strange thing is to be anything at all. To observe and feel responsible for what is left of this world. These days, poetic attention feels heavy and yet essential. As a poet, you're handing an external presumption that you will uncover the semantics of what is really like to be a window, a tree, a wooden chair, a piano covered on empty floor, a street colored by fallen leaves. And without permission, you name yourself an observer of things that can surpass the physicality of constructed expectations. Are things what they are or what they aren't? Because when you taste textures, and you hear tastes, and you taste sounds, there is a moment of silence where recognition oscillates in the choices of creation. Here, in this momentum of reaction, poetry lies between utopia and apocalypse. A sense of religiosity overwhelms the poet, the cultural producers to gain a glimpse of truth. You become culture in a way that you exist outside of it. You're both it and alien to it. And I question this as I ride through the hinges of my own position. I'm not only an observer, but also observed. I'm not a universal stance of aesthetics. My aesthetics are local to my mind, my body, my soul. My aesthetics are the food my family has eaten for generations. My aesthetics are my bed that remains unfolded. My aesthetics are the bus that comes late every morning. My aesthetics are the nostalgic calls with my mother, who appears only in glimpses. My aesthetics are my social anatomy shifted into languages and borders. My aesthetics are the fear of fascism creeping down my throat. My aesthetics are the rage that I write on my notes. My aesthetics are my exhausted body. My aesthetics are the politics of my word in a colonial settler world. Both as a choice and a forced displacement, I write not to be read on a paper, but to be seen. I recognize my materiality, to shift from the center into what happens after you finish the page and you let the book rest on the table. Poetry is crawling, flying, jumping, escaping, running. Poetry moves with the wind. Poetry travels with the people. It is in this freedom of movement that poetry intersects with migratory processes. Poetry does not have a straight line, a definite start and end. Poetry contains an eager motion of return, cyclical. It continues and unravels across relationships to land, managed by the superpowers and the urgency of cheapened labor. North to south, east to west, Turtle Island to Abya to Congo, from Congo to Palestine, it stretches and respects only the law of nature. It engages suffering and joy. It's a connection to yourself, others, and the environment. Otherwise, it's not poetry. It is a dictate. A poet is an agent. A poet yells, cries, dances, demands, moves, knows, asks, remembers. And most importantly, a poet holds themselves witness to transformation, to the commotion of liberation. That is where a poet belongs. Someday I love Cabil after Richard, after Ocean Vuong. Cabil, let the iron blood dripping from your nostrils taste like chamomile tea. You know that peace only comes with an apple socked to its core. To become is to let go. Retrace your key knitted onto the edges of your veins, because what is costly is the stain of what once fought. And if you get lost in your skin, name your kin chosen. It is only in the truth of the past that you will find future liberation. Remember how the small dot next to your brow speaks to what is to leave home. Don't forget how you have molded clay into a new body, ready to peel fresh. Every time a carcass. Go back to the portrait by Fumica, the one where you're 17, standing awkwardly in the middle of the concrete classroom. The one that ended up being thrown away because you couldn't make yourself return. The way you continue to look back at yourself like you never knew what violence was. And when you knew, there was nothing but an empty chair for tenderness. Allow the present to liquefy into the most hidden parts of yourself. What is still open will close. Travel from your lineage's nose to the tip of your hair that gets smaller with the passing of hands and the emergence of your soul, just when you start to give up. Viernes en la tarde. Te vi, te comí, me devoraste, en momentos fúnebres. ¿Este es mi tiempo? ¿Qué pasó antes de ti? Llegaste y partiste, el agua siguió corriendo, caudal. Las rocas se ahogaron, su distancia duele más que un quizá. Quiéreme, despojada la idea. Hombres pequeños vestidos de negro recorrieron el tiempo y te quedaste varada, querida, sin entender las arrugas de mis labios o las marcas debajo de mis ojos. Mi corazón agüitado y el humo deshace para volver a cero.
Are doing. We're all out here shoveling snow.
Johnny Trinh, Reconnaissance. From the moment the plane touched tarmac, I gravitated to the ocean. Daily walks to seawall, bi-weekly strides up the mountain, but I've never walked to the river. I prefer the vastness that pretends to take my spirit out to sea, recedes with low tide, and run away until the tide returns with all my refuse, like plastic, like broken shells, like earthless roots because I refused to breed. I will never know the necessary foresight of recon along the Mekong, waist deep in leeches to avoid landmines, the Khmer Rouge, the Viet Cong. I never told them I was 14 when I was first flashed by a gun in high school. Actually, I've never told anyone. I prefer the cliffside, gentrified with gondola rides, Chinese tourists and coyote warnings. I wonder who is more dangerous. I will never feel the impossible weight of locked codes and not being able to pass as citizen. But I'll ask them to read my lines so I can pass as immigrant on TV. But I'll ask them to translate my next tattoo that they despise. But I'll ask them, too late, to tell me forgotten stories of escape, of weighing gold in gas tanks to smuggle family to freedom, to claim blood quantum and clout as I become an elder with forgotten tongues. I never told them that I too played Kim, go-go dancing at white parties in the streets of Toronto for the favor of settled foreigners. Every time I stand in line waiting for security to rummage through my things, watching them search brown passengers for bombs, watching them search black bags for bags, watching them slice through polypropylene packages searching for seeds, contraband, and Cavassier. I'm afraid of going to America. I'm afraid of my Canadian passport while landing in Ho Chi Minh trying to find Saigon. I feel fraud and convince myself that I have committed no crime and try to find ways to prove it without unlocking my phone. I've only ever been questioned and held long enough to claim that I was detained, but never actually long enough to be detained in a cell. I will never know, so they tell me I will never know. So they say I will never be enough compensation for their sacrifice. So I prefer the road most traveled. I prefer highway rest stops along the I-5 or Highway 1, between border crossings, Bible Belts, red states, Northern Ontario and Alberta. I am perpetual reconnaissance, relaying constant danger to an archive where no one stays long enough to read. So I walk to the Fraser, touch current, and offer tobacco and berry and this poem as Sema to Stallo, a fragment of thanks and apology, a brief touchdown before another departure. Settle. As a preface, in 2025, I had the opportunity to be assistant director on the Arts Club's production of Lauren Yee's Cambodian rock band, the musical. While there, we met some Cambodian cultural consultants, became community and family, and they invited me to perform at the Cambodian Cultural Center and write and perform a poem inspired by photos from survivors, immigrants, of family in refugee camps and places across Cambodia. And when I looked at them, they seemed so familiar, just like the ones that my family brought from Vietnam. So I wrote this poem as a bridge and really relied on the foundational similarities to offer solidarity and community. Here he goes. Settle. The promise of tomorrow did not come, so they smiled for every day that hunger did not win. The reverence of gratitude came for every sponsor, democracy, liberation, the prayer of laughter for everyone who survived, and the memories of those who didn't. Photos capturing every first birth on new land and last birth on old soil formed the storied memories of, were you born here? I held you when you were a baby and chewed the food that you swallowed. Do you remember me? Sorry, no English. My mother sifted through the waste of Canadian food safety standards to feed my father when they had not but $50 in their pocket. My father chose her every day, a commitment that is rare as Canadian labor laws allow a man to work 18 hours a day to make ends meet. My sister found herself in every Disney princess protagonist who chose herself while the bullies came for the freshwater fish, tamarind, coconut curry our mother cooked to remind us where we came from. When she relented to make Kraft dinner, Kraft mac and cheese, and the first time I tasted Chef Boyardee in her sadness, I found myself defined by ba, mère, gone, missing the food that my friends now ask me to make. My Canadian friends don't always know the defiance of ambition, the will to resist piety, disobey ancestors, to find freedom across the ocean, to learn that grief always seeks space for resentment to seed, to become wise to the teachings that famine brings, to become less because foreigners are only useful so long as we settle for just enough to get by, just enough to keep the wheel turning, just enough to not ask for too much. I stopped wanting to be the Canadian defined by 1867. I became a Canadian raised by seniors who understood the trouble of uninvited guests. I am no longer seeking lemongrass among the maple trees. I crave instead the future I owe my ancestors. I dream instead of a space to settle, to sit at the feet of my father when the work is done, and he holds grandkids sharing stories of when I was your age, when I was their age, when you are my age. And we find old photos of Grandpa working as an interpreter and Grandma as a nurse surrounded by Canadian peacekeepers in the war where they delicately weave out the gore that they never shielded from me, or maybe they did. And in the photos we see them when they were our age, when they forced themselves to smile and found moments when nothing was forced, when the rest of our cousins came with photos and letters from home, when they discovered importance with neighbors and cigarettes on Sunday, when they passed their citizenship test, when they saw me graduate. Sometimes too hard to articulate their pride, when language escapes and doesn't translate the times when there's no nearby fruit to slice. So they just smile, laugh, and survive. They continued the line so we could be hyphenated Canadian, building towards a tomorrow that we weren't afraid to lose until now, when even they see again a world so unsettling.
Adolfo Bermudez. New house. There are houses made of sticks, of straws, of wood, of cement, of flour, of corn, of glass, of gingerbread. Although it seems there aren't any, I keep seeing people sleeping under the bridge. But houses are advertised everywhere. Huge houses, small houses, medium-sized houses, any kind of houses. My house is your house is my house, you are my house. We find each other in words, surrounding the fire, blowing at the fire, telling stories, hugging each other in between embers. You look red, your skin illuminated, red-orange. The wind pushes our house, shouting at each other in a circle. Me and my friends, exposed in front of the lantern, we learned from each other to crawl and cry, to run and fall, to swim without floating, to float without swimming. We shed our skin, we moved house, a space of 4 boards, a mattress on the floor, empty beer cans, some shiny object that reflects images and emulates words. We surround the light. We believe we are the light. We want to be absorbed by the light. And we recharge each other. We are still children, says Alfredo, big mustache that he carries. You're old, I say it with love. We light a joint, and reason goes away. I don't want to smoke anymore, Rodrigo shouts. Me neither, but house to house looking for home. Yellow light so warm that makes me want to hug you tightly. The smell of $9 wine and pesto pasta, waking up in the morning to songs that tell the story of a day a heart was broken. Watching my father make coffee, watching my mother make another coffee, never in the same room. Seeing a woman who cooks for money and raises me like my other mother. Lupita, I say to her, why don't you eat with us? It's just that I get hungry later, she explains. And she was my home. If she wasn't there, the house wasn't. Christmas trees in the middle of August. Smoke comes out of the room and everyone is asleep, piled on top of each other, shirtless, half sweaty, sticky, amazed because it's 9 o'clock at night and the sun is still shining on the last blind where I see the shadow of the branch dancing, and asks me, Adolfo, how do you manage to be 22 years old and think that things are going to end? And I said goodbye to the branch. The next day I left home. Now I'm on my way with 3 suitcases in each hand and dragging a box full of books I have not read, heading for other 4 walls of paper, which, if I'm lucky and have a little advantage, I will call home. Babilonia is further north. 1. Could it be hiding behind the dust? These hordes have diagnosed the gaze. Hepatitis in the retina. Ghosts await you at your desk. A hope the size of the moon. Or could it be that it hides among the mountains, overshadowed? The hands of men have erred. The metal, the glass, the infrastructure, they end up shrinking in the face of nature. And this tower, this space that everyone talks about and claims to inhabit, a steamroller must have run over it. We had to live on the same side of the coin, my dear, stepping on our heels just in case. I don't turn to look at anyone. My eyelids have dropped. In my ears, cobwebs, where the voices are unrecognizable. Even so, we understand each other without knowing what. We have been the ones who stand before the $2 coin. Gold riddles us and freezes us in an instant. The endless spiral. Each block has its own language. To call it a dialect is to dismiss it. Confusion is the engine of the hip. Yesterday I asked you something but you didn't understand. Maybe I didn't know how to open my mouth. The wind drenches my eye with rain. Your body must have paused under a light. Like master of shadows, you disappear into darkness. A map written in Farsi has been found by a bald man who only knows English, and you, with your thoughts in Spanish, will be of no use. Communication is essential in men. Today I introduced myself to 7 strangers. I was accompanied by 6 words that remained in the moment, an imminent silence, 2 memes, and a glance. We ride in the same car, crammed into the trunk, reading the mind of the person to your left, curling up in the stop signs, and we dance. The skeleton does not need a language. At most, a parenthesis at the end. What's the point of naming this if you call it this and I call it that? I will howl under the crescent moon. You will tread the grass like never before. Birds will bounce off our mouths that have illegally inhabited our bodies with the purpose of not diluting ourselves in space. But they keep watching, squinting, rocking the face. Your body embodies my speech. I dare you to throw paint at the white canvas, to write a poem in Morse code, or to pretend that the poem inhabits the house of the midday street sweeper. 2. All of us together, diving into the first abyss we encounter. With our sweat, we can make lots of soup. Look at that ad. Those shoes would look good on anyone. Last night, several men beat each other up in a collective dream. What we wouldn't give to jump rope over a constant sunset. Fill the head with homogeneous memories. You and the milkman have the same face. To experience everything in every moment, a symptom of being connected to cables. Sadly, they don't make windows like this anymore. The screams evaporate as they touch the void. The watershed of the rupture, a white crowd that has emanated from the dust. Inside the strange cavern, no one knows what's happening. Maybe the day won't return, and we will live lost in the lagoon, without understanding the unique symbol that resides on the edge of the mountain. The tower must have been a simulation. Nothing to expect from the combined breaths. The main event has passed me by the ankles, and a flicker shone, not enough to embed itself on the stone. For now, No one understands what your reflection dances, avant-garde, and these artificial necks don't know how to raise their gaze.
Fiona Glen. Lower the body and lower the voices. Who do you move as in the rainwoods ticking with tireless ferns, where walking pools spider silk thin across your lips? A call to be quieter, still. To be still. To settle under this little roof, this shelter cool and receptive, where you can open your ankle and ask who you hear with when you full tune to these irritations of rain that shift like swift jitters down the bristled arch of a cat's back, bridging over a you that you shift to its senses, this brim, warm awakeness swelling liquid under your skin, your limits that ripple too. Like the leaves, fine foliations that shed you in common with many trees, all waving edges ready to be drummed by water whose falling mimics an upward sizzling, a foley trick like hot oil in hot pans, and you are here to catch such rumours, to puzzle in the sounds that slip further from their making the closer you turn them. Enigma, this cry that could come from many throats, from squirrel or bird or toad, the trouble of how little voices tell us about their bodies. Emissaries dissolving as they move out, positioning the kind of distance that might let you hold yourself in the kindness of gaze you saved for another being. Asking, who are you seeing yourself from as you find a woozy float over this strange organism that you are, not even singular unawareness that watches itself. You are not here to convert time into poetry, not an agreement nor a machine, but a mind body moving slow like honey and easily drunk on accuracy, the sudden fidelity that swims your head too sharply, sounds evasive and heady with wily impossibility, like a child's voice that somehow echoes over an open field of blueberries, sounds and their promises, drawing you to track them like animals tantalized to the hives where your blunt ear hears nothing. Slip into the woods and hover 1 secret inch from the flank-like ground, lower the body and lower the voices that pinball and palpitate inside. Allow it, disexpect and unfear this porous slowness that undoes the self so that things might move it, move you newly. Take this courage to quest into indirection, a little fear in this feeling, unlike yourself. No Hubble, no verbal matter, no palpitations of words and their shapes in this place that you hoped to reach. An unsettling calm, real listening, making you stranger, simplicity hard to articulate where none of it is about you. This limitless, generous company, the simmer of things cut back and resting, the wind sifted industriousness, the busy silence, the day.
Lauren Peat, Power Back. We're wide awake, roused by the din of income assistance emails, the paperworks. Stand by me. Do you know where we are? Do you have a dime so I can get a drink? No, man, this isn't Princess Street. I work as a can collector. My second favorite thing about the job is getting to know people's dogs. My first favorite thing? Well, the city just makes it so tough. Once I photographed musicians in European cities. Once I was a politician, so ask me anything you want to know about corruption. It's like trying to topple a mountain, but when you clock out, no one says, "Good work, sir." I love coming in here. It's the calm place, the place the good people are. Tell me, where have all the creative spaces gone? Where is Vancouver's beating heart? Hi, here for an Amazon delivery. I've got this fuego inside me. Fist on face, knuckle on teeth, blood on stardust. What a mess we've made. Wait, let me tell you about the time I escaped through the hatch of a tugboat. The time I lost my home to redevelopment. I must have moved 30 times in the past 10 years. So many friends died, and I'm still here. Had a good cry today. Put roses in my pillows, let the chaos rule. Went to the bank with a feeling, a swollen ankle, a mobility aid, a mask. Asked the teller, where do we go if not deeper in? Are you saying you'd like to open an interest account? She said. Can't believe this is my real life. Houses are unaffordable, not even rentable. Here's a pic instead of a cobweb, a rivulet, a railway track. I think the people need to take the power back. Displacement is real, and sororité et amitié sont mes beautés. Yesterday, a cop cut me a break, told me to smarten up. I told him I've done so many weird things to memorize a poem. One was called Petrichor, another called Poppycock. It's no walk in the park being insane, I said. Hear these neurons rushing like rivers of joy, side by side. Listen, if you make something new in the morally bankrupt landscape, the fall will come early. Believe me. And you'll be like part of this community. Knock, 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 knock. Hi there, are you expecting Bannock? Still, you can't want a blueprint for a better city too bad. One time I got $1,000 to say, "Hello, world," in a movie. That was it. Another time I forgot my friend's birthday. I love them so effing much. I couldn't write you a list of all the kindnesses they've done to me. Clenched teeth, wrought iron jaw. I've been big and I've been small. Can't believe they picked me out of all possibilities. With my grape candy, soft comfort, and this little crack on the floor. So many mushrooms and cats. Guess 10 minutes is all I get, so I'll say it again. Hey people, we really, really need to take the power back.
Marc Perez. Body of water. Home is a place where rivers meet the sea. Fill my lungs with brackish delta water. Estero de tripa de gallina. Childhood memories tributary. Stagnant in black silt and methane. Only the dead remember your lilies. But this is no longer about drowning. I've outgrown my fear of letting go. This is surrender, a body-defying buoyancy, sunken and supine on the seabed like the sedimented hull of a capsized ship. Reel in my feet from a cerulean reef, swathed in seaweed. There's room for you here, a soft bed among corals. Come, I'll breathe you in. Bones are seeds. The island greets me with satin clouds and light rain, parting as the fairy ducks at the cove. Rough as the precipice, my mind careens to the chimes of a concertina, and my heart begins to grieve. Here he is, the man without love, country, or soul, forgotten, abandoned, buried with no tomb. But now, the stark dignity of remembrance, tracing the ebb of history, I turn each pebble and seashell, washed in time and polished with seaside reflections. Your breath is home, a shelter amidst this plague. The coastal forest is a testament to your banished footprints, a welcoming totem to your life's entrance. Still, the profound change arrives in the form of a deer, traversing slopes of wild berries and fern to bid farewell. For now, I use the North Shore Mountains as your headstones, and the cherry blossoms for candles, while I pray and offer a song of loss and rebirth. My feet too are planted in a land that is not my own, and the tide has come upon them. Uprooted, they find themselves in hostile shores, like driftwood carried by turbulent currents. Unable to return, we learn and adapt to numbing rain and snow. They do not know where we come from. Bones are also seeds. Even in barren landscapes, untended, we flower. They can cast us in a crevice, nameless, yet we continue to survive. We thrive. We grip down and begin to awaken.
Dani Rodriguez Chevalier. Instructions on how to city drift. What you'll need: time, change for transit, water. The night before such day, look at a window, refractive, reflective, transmissive. Lights that twinkle like newborns, cars becoming ghosts in the reflection, people socked in the city din. You are a sailor set to set sail the next morning. Cherish the land. A beast abyss. Forged, fraudulent, spurious, misleading, deceptive. Light discerns in 360 panorama. They share a natural tendency to just drift, waterways and whatnots. Undersea fauna, harbor seals, the occasional sea lion, little fish twinkling like tinsel, righteous underwater party scenes. A sudden burst. Undercurrents of tension. Orcas on a mission in 2019. Palpable blowhole breaths, undoing hypnotic tides. Sea asparagus, oysters and clams in Coast Salish waters. Seabirds nesting under bridges. Who am I as a biological entity on a false creek? Soaring architecture, scabby fossilized shells in verticality, and newness to the layers of the earth, arterial and systemic. Our viscous, inert chemistries, treacherous and unfaithful. Out by the mountainous park, forking paths are climbed by substance and shadows, train tracks covered in shining vines, drenched in sun. Get a set of fake passport photos to visit the tall tree of a past home. Antennas like false moons, giving each other inner bits of our bodies with form ability. Una oruga en el cielo. False imprisonment, appearing to be the thing denoted, deliberately made or meant to deceive. Take a very neat thing and mess it up. Artificial. False eyelashes. Fake, synthetic, replicas, guided by the dead moon that shines and glows on the surface of the particles of air. Illusory, not actually so. Two drivers stuck to each other through plexiglass. A wormhole connects. The boss is a boss on a boss. What is the half-life of a whisper? And where does the other one go? Radiates, sublime, multi-way traffic, crispy October light. Look at the signs on the post. Cash for memory card. No questions, just cash. Mind your head and your heart. Every plunge changes the plunger. Like finding a mirror set loose in town, carried by someone's hands. An instant collage. Squiggly reflections of a blue electric wig, carvings glimpse. I am a continuous body of water flowing within the beds and banks of this city. My gut is a small creek, ribs made of fiberglass, located within the inlet. Shake free. Go back to the pocket where Emily Dickinson wrote, "True poems flee."
in a room of winter light. Wakes me up. Listen. Stuck in kelp. Something stuck in kelp. I don't want to think of you. 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 I want you. I don't want to think of 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 your hands. I don't want to think of you. I don't want to think of you. I don't want to think of you wanting me. I don't want to think of you wanting me. I don't want to think of you. Do you think of me? I don't want to think of you. I don't want to think of you. I don't want to think of you. I think you want me. I don't think you want me. I think you don't. I don't want to think of you. I don't want to think of you. I think of you looking at me. I don't want to think of you. I know what I think of you. I don't want to think of you. I don't want to think of you. I don't want to think of you. I think of you. I don't want to think of you. I think of you wanting me. I don't want to think of you. I think of what you want. I don't want to. I don't want to think of you. I don't want to think of you. I don't. I don't. I think of you wanting me. I don't want to think of you. I want you. I don't want to think of you. I want you. I don't want to think of 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 you. I don't want to think. I don't want to think. I don't want to think of you. I don't want to think. I don't want to think of you. I don't want to think. I don't want you. I don't want to think. I don't want to think of you. I don't want you. I don't want to think of you. I don't want to think of you. I don't want to think about what I want. I don't want you. I don't want you. I don't want you. I think I don't. I don't. I don't want you. I don't want what you think.
Kevin Spenst. Das Gelächter washed ashore, for Jeff Studell. Under the beck and call of the moon and sun, I swam yesterday morning at Secret Beach. I suppose there are waterproof watches, but why? An immersion in timelessness is most of the fun. More to the point, I think Rilke's angels come from the ocean. Each wave is one of them waiting in the wings. Lightning launches them. Angels prep for their roles by whitecapping into conversation, each bubble observing the match and drift between voices and deeds. You and I flummoxed a few the time we went winter swimming in the double layers of neoprene. We floated on the surface like giant water toys. All our discomfort could do was laugh at how our heroics failed to break us into English Bay. The Stanley Park Manor, for Jeff Studell. Now I live where you once lived, where you first learned to prefer walking on the soft shores at Lost Lagoon. And beyond that, you witnessed new leaves shimmer on Deadman's Island, where the Salish battled and raised some of their dead high into cedars, where Chinese men built homes from which they were evicted, and where the military persists. And any memory of you must be both bladed with anger over injustice and gentle with love for the, quote, magic of water, end quote, which is the confluence of us all. River it to me, press on, please press on, you wrote, under the rising abundance from raindrops.
Elana Brief. Upstart and Crow. 5 black ravens huddled in the store, Caw, says one, caw, say the other four. Squeal, says the hinge on the bookshop door, and the people shuffle footsteps on the floor. Hey, says Raven, hey, the other four. Welcome, calls out Robin at the latching of the door, and the people smell the candles, handle chocolate jams and more, feel the textures of the paper by the door. Look, says Raven, look, the other four. A couple move together to the novels they adore. They whisper their elation at the books that they explore on the ladder from the ceiling to the floor. Clang, says Raven, bang, the other four. A blacksmith sculpting metal in the studio next door. The whirring of the furnace and the shaping of the ore make the neighborhood's distinct percussive score. I'm not a raven, neither we the other four. 5 crows fly to the window open on the second floor. The books with wing-like pages lift and fly around the store. People hear the hopes they've never felt before. Gratitude to old teachers. Small baby, young mother, young radiologist, and remote. Remote from the care such a sick baby needs, and confused like the young ultrasound tech who says, I really don't know what I'm looking at. Small baby, young mother, sick baby who has vomited through her weeks-long life, and the young mother says, what's strange is that the vomit has turned green. The young radiologist, transported back to witnessing her med school professor climb onto a table, announce to the hundreds, beware the child who vomits green. She looks to the Doppler screen, sees the swirl of a volvulus, directs the team to ready the baby for medevac, and the baby is saved. Saved by the surgeons who received her, by the doctor who listened, by the mother who spoke, by the professor forever standing on the desk, saving baby after baby after baby. Listening by Amy Lowell. 'Tis you that are the music, not your song. The song is but a door which, opening wide, lets forth the pent-up melody inside. Your spirit's harmony which clear and strong sing but of you. Throughout your whole life long, your songs, your thoughts, your doings, each divide this perfect beauty, waves within a tide, or single notes mid a glorious throng. The song of earth has many different chords. Ocean has many moods and many tones, yet always ocean. In the damp spring woods, the painted trillium smiles, while crisp pine cones autumn alone can ripen. So is this, one music with 1,000 cadences.
Karen Parrish. River. You'd just returned from getting coffee, spoke once his name and softly, and he, eyes closed, raising his head from the hospital pillow, orienting to your voice, gasped once. This image your gift the rest of your life. Outside, the chickadees lob their little songs across the fence. When I Am Asked by Liesel Mueller. When I am asked how I began writing poems, I talk about the indifference of nature. It was soon after my mother died, a brilliant June day, everything blooming. I sat on a gray stone bench in a lovingly planted garden, but the daylilies were as deaf as the ears of drunken sleepers, and the roses curved inward. Nothing was black or broken, and not a leaf fell, and the sun blared endless commercials for summer holidays.
I sat on a gray stone bench, ringed with the ingenue faces of pink and white impatiens, and placed my grief in the mouth of language, the only thing that would grieve with me. Blind Red Bear by Christopher Howell. We found him under the bed when we moved in. His eyes had been torn out by time, and his mouth was a thin, kinked string of black thread ready to desert his face, which was dirty white, and excepting the black nose, the only part of him that was not stoplight red. She loved him immediately with a hugging delight that brought him with us everywhere, to the movies, the zoo, the grocery, the dentist. When she was a grown woman of 20, she took him with her to Brazil. After she died, the embassy shipped everything back, and there he was among the books and clothes, ragged and forlorn, like a single thought of what was missing and would not be replaced, like his eyes. When she was small, I used to lie awake at night in that flimsy beach house on the island and listen to her in the next room telling him stories, talking about her day. Then her voice would grow faint and fainter, and I thought of them happily entering the same dream, just as I think of them now. By phone they require, for security reasons, and always after expressing sincere condolences, his date of birth, his social, and I comply. Then the hard one, death date, though they always say of his passing. As a cloud might pass overhead, as a bird passes beneath the cloud, that one bird as it lifted from the sill of your hospital room window, its long glide toward the inlet winking in the dazzled morning light. They are always kind, so I give them what they ask for. Thanks by W.S. Merwin. Listen, with the night falling, we are saying thank you. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. We are running out of the glass rooms with our mouths full of food to look at the sky and say thank you. We are standing by the water, thanking it, standing by the windows, looking out in our directions. Back from a series of hospitals, back from a mugging, after funerals, we are saying thank you. After the news of the dead, whether or not we knew them, we are saying thank you. Over telephones, we are saying thank you, in doorways and in the backs of cars and in elevators, remembering wars and the police at the door and the beatings on stairs, we are saying thank you. In the banks, we are saying thank you, in the faces of the officials and the rich and of all who will never change, we go on saying thank you. Thank you. With the animals dying around us, our lost feelings, we are saying thank you. With the forests falling faster than the minutes of our lives, we are saying thank you. With the words going out like cells of a brain, with the cities growing over us, we are saying thank you faster and faster. With nobody listening, we are saying thank you. We are saying thank you and waving, dark though it is.
Cabil, Sunday. Wet, my bone encapsulated by flesh, trapped between my upper and inferior teeth, my finger. A guilt-driven action by a guilt-driven person, like a porch with a single light bulb, mosquitoes. Zoom, 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 disrupted by a clack, 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 as I bite into my skin for the sake of peace. A peacekeeping mission wrapped in candid violence. I take a breath. I call the closest thing, Mother. Wherever, whoever, repeat, on my plate, on my bed, and in the mornings, on my nose, on my dreams, and in my fears. My jaw clenched to an anxious thought. Do you know where you're going to be? Do you find your 20s both enraging and blooming? This city, blood-tainted, red pomegranate running through the oil-stained sidewalks, seeped into concrete corners. Just like snakes sizzling, silence I sigh, this land I occupy, Moscow, squamish and silhouetted. This land, both warm and alien to me, this land calls me foreigner, presente. In my most human dreams, I incarnate tree. The texture of my hands give ways to nature. Maybe I whisper under the canopy. Glow glimpses its way down to all the versions that my body has taken on my scars where the moon presses divine. This hair, these breasts, both willful and strange to patriarchy. I love this word, even when it doesn't know how to love back. I close my eyes. The cawing of seagulls and metal structures, the terror of the modern era finds a loophole. It dissipates into foam rings that decor the water lushes. I think that our time is up. Or maybe I find the hours crowded with shadow irony. I let them take me back in the shape of brutal beauty, a mist.